What causes people to hire people is that they think that the employee that they hire will advance their business and make it more profitable, make them able to serve their customers better. It is about making the business work better, either through a better service, a better profit margin for the owner of the business or the employer. That's why people hire people and they keep them long term. Now, there's a lot of people up here that think that the reason people hire is because you give them some kind of tax break. But if you look at the president proposed numerous tax breaks that he would give one-time tax benefits, $4,000 for this, for a large employer up to $81,000, he said, in taxes they wouldn't have to pay. But that's a one-time tax. That's a one-time tax situation. In other words, is it really worth keeping an employee for 20 years because somebody gives you one year a $4,000 tax break? Is that what would encourage somebody to hire somebody? I don't think so. If they felt their business needed to hire somebody, yeah, they'd love to have the extra $4,000. Everybody is turned on by that. But if the real purpose is to get a long-term job, the kind of job that we dream about as Americans, one that you can make a career out of, the incentives would help if they were looking for somebody to make their business better. But if they didn't see that it would make it better, I would think that the best you would get would be a one-year job. So you can take care of the tax incentives at that time, and then you lay somebody off. Or maybe you don't lay that person off, but you lay somebody else off. If it doesn't make you money and make your business run better or offer better services to your customers, most employers are not going to hire somebody. So hiring is part of making the environment reliable, predictable, and something that a person who is making plans for the future and owns a business can count on to be the same this year, next year, and hopefully for many years to come, that the playing field is basically defined for our employers. And really, what's really a problem we've got right now with employment in the United States is that because we have done so many things in this administration, and Obamacare being the perfect example, employers on Obamacare are literally learning about every 6 weeks of some new cost that will be imposed by the regulations that are being drafted by the people who are trying to put together the implementation of the Obama health care bill. And so as the employer looks at the product he has to provide for his employee, and he sees it changing every 6 weeks, going up, then how does he know what it's going to be when he actually hires that employee? How does he long-term plan out the future? And in this world, in the modern world, people make business projections out in the future, at least 5 or 10 years. And they do that for a very good reason. It enables them to get a down-the-road picture of when to expand, when to add buildings, when to add other things like new computers, whatever they might need to always make the business better. Now, if you don't know what the taxes are going to be next year, if you don't know what the cost of health care is going to be next year, if you don't know what new government regulations are going to fall in your lap next year, then you are reluctant to say, I know I'll be able to hire somebody next year. Or I'll be able to keep the person I hired this year. And that's the key to try to, in the world, the unsure world that we have today, of getting people back to work. Putting some consistency and taking the fear out of the future for the people who hire people. And if you talk to employers, and I met with 14 of them on the way to the airport in a little coffee we had, and they talked to me about the uncertainty scares us to death. So when the president spoke today, he mentioned some of these things. He mentioned, for instance, regulations. But I hate to say this, but the term "the devil is in the details" is very important to something of such a size as what the president proposed. He told us he had them working on getting rid of regulations. Well, I've been working on getting rid of regulations for a year now, And we've got 10 that we're primarily trying to deal with right now, but there are literally 100 brand new regulations that nobody knows the cost and nobody knows what's going to do to various industries around the country. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, Mr. Obama, if your committee has been working on these regulations, you say you're telling them to get rid of these regulations. We don't see any of the ones that we see as bad have gone away. Instead they're being fast-tracked. So maybe you're getting rid of old regulations and replacing them with new regulations. That's not the certainty we need for business. Maybe we talked about this huge program that he put together to create jobs, to put people back to work, to give incentives, paid incentives for employers to hire people. And you have to ask yourself, in a world where we're $14 trillion in the hole, how are we going to pay for this, Mr. President? And what he said was, he's going to ask this committee that already has the duty of coming up with $1.5 trillion in cuts between now and Christmas time, roughly, to come up with an additional maybe $1 trillion